Hey guys, and welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, I'm Christina, and in today's video I have a very special guest, my favorite person, my husband Seth, and we are going to be chatting about, I guess, a lot of different things because we don't have a script. I don't have a list of questions I'm going to ask him. We're just winging it. We have so many conversations together that I feel like might be helpful for other parents to get to hear, just to know that you're not alone, maybe give you some fresh perspective. Ideas, insight, and we'd love to hear from you guys in the comments too, and let this be an ongoing conversation. And if you guys like this, maybe we'll make this a series where I bring him on once a month. You guys can put questions for us in the comments and we'll start tackling some parenting questions. Today we really want to talk a lot about building a godly legacy though, so I'm going to be asking him a lot of questions because I feel like he has so much wisdom and perspective to share, specifically for men, for husbands, for dads. So you guys get my perspective all the time from the motherhood side of things, and we really are a team. I'm not doing this on my own, so I feel like it only makes sense for him to come on and share his perspective, and I feel like this is a really great video for husbands and wives to watch together. So yeah, maybe you could get your husband to watch this with you, or if you don't have a husband, maybe it'll just be a help to hear from a husband's perspective on some things. So let's get into it. So I convinced Seth just last night to start an Instagram page, which is actually really funny because he's so anti-social media, not against me having social media, but he had zero interest in ever having social media. And I actually really liked it, but we've been praying a lot for vision for our family, and in various ways, in various different aspects of our lives. And late last night, I guess late, it was probably 10:30 when we first started talking about it. Our kids had all fallen asleep finally, and it's rare that we're both up at the same time when that happens, but sometimes it's the only time for us to get alone time together. And I was like, what do you think? I think I said podcast first. What do you think about us doing a podcast together? As my next podcast guest. And then I was like, maybe you should start an Instagram page where you share the husband and father perspective. And he was half asleep, number one. Yes. Half asleep, but then also definitely not convinced.
Before I knew it, I was
starting. I was
hey, wait, what just happened?
Yes. You were wait, are you actually starting the account right now? And I'm yes, you're taking too long. Let's go. This is a good idea. We're going to jump on it.
I was all right, I'm going to go make some coffee.
Yes. And we actually spent a few hours up late, and I'm definitely tired today.
It was good though.
As a result,
I had a good time. I'm glad we did it.
It was really fun. And so if you want to follow him, or if you have a man in your life that you feel could benefit from a man talking about fatherhood and being a husband and all of those things, his account is the male counterpart to mine. So his is rooted_legacy_. Mine's rooted_home life. So let's talk about why you agreed to starting the Instagram page.
Well, we've always talked about how important it is to get help and learn different things with parenting.
Mm-hmm.
So when you mentioned it, it wasn't a surprise to me because we always talk about helping each other, and you help me a lot with the things you read and share with me. Mm-hmm. So it kind of came from that, a desire to help other people, because I always wonder what I would do without you helping me figure some things out that have made a big difference in the way I approach being a father and, interacting with the family. So, I always worry about people who don't have anyone supporting them, or guys that maybe didn't have a great father like I had, who taught me a lot of things, who I respected. So that's kind of why I said yes, because I think the smallest little nudge in the right direction could be a big change for someone who's trying to learn how to be a better father.
Yeah, for sure. So Seth and I had fairly different upbringings. There were some similarities, we were both raised in Christian homes. Mm-hmm. I was raised in a Christian home, I guess you could argue, until maybe I was between 10 and 12. We had a falling out, unfortunately, with our church, and so we stopped going. My grandmother never stopped going, and so she was always kind of that godly example, and she was always praying and always trying to get me to go back to church and all those things. Mm-hmm. Church was a very positive thing for me throughout my childhood until that happened, and then I really had terrible teen years and didn't end up really going back to church or committing my life to the Lord until I was 18. But Seth, I also had a single mom, so that's a significant difference. Seth had a mom and a dad who were together since college, married for many years, 5 kids. His dad is a retired pastor. His mom was a school teacher, and he saw like a really beautiful example of marriage. Do you want to talk about that at all?
Sure. I mean, no one's perfect, but I've always felt like, you know, if I'm even half the man my dad was, then I'm a great man because I just respect him. He you know, he never was super religious, but being a pastor, of a small church, he had a very humble attitude about everything he did. He comes from a background of, you know, being a mechanic and also
An athlete.
Yeah, he, you know, before raising a family, he was a serious athlete, all-state athlete, and you know, stopped pursuing athletics when the family started growing and put his attentions on what the family needed. And I think that's where a lot of my respect for him came, because he taught me sports at a young age, but also modeled taking care of the family. And it wasn't always a pretty thing. I mean, sometimes he was, you know, really dirty from working under cars and coming home. And, you know, I remember a lot of times my mom always saying, save food for dad. And, you know, then he would come home and let someone else still eat some portion of his food and barely eat anything, you know.
Huh, that sounds familiar.
Yeah, right. So that's where I got that kind of attitude of what real strength looks like. It's not going after things for yourself, but taking care of people around you.
Yeah, for sure. So what would you say, like, your biggest thing that you've learned about fatherhood? Like, if you could tell fathers one thing, like you only get one, what would the number one thing, the number one piece of advice, or the number one thing that you've learned being a father that you would share?
If I only had one thing, I think whether you're a new father or someone who's been parenting for a long time, I think it's really important not to be hard on yourself and just try to improve. And you can only do it if you're not beating yourself up. Like, you don't have the energy to beat yourself up and improve. So you gotta just, you know, be at peace enough to know that, you know, my faith plays a lot in how I approach it. So you have to have enough faith to know that you can't change the past, but God can give you the strength to try to do your best today. You know, we all make mistakes. Everybody has different things that they struggle with. So I would just encourage them, you know, you don't have to be like anyone else. And the first step, I think, to really being a good parent and father is being peaceful. You know, so you just have to let go of beating yourself up over past stuff. I feel like that's not too easy. I think me and you walked through a lot of that, where I had to let go of a lot of past ways of thinking or frustrations and just be in the moment, you know. I think that's the biggest thing, is just not beating yourself up, trying to make the best out of the moment you're in.
Yeah, that's really good. One thing that I really love about Seth is how intentional and hands-on of a father he is. So I really feel like it comes naturally for you, though. Like, do you think that that's like a gift God's given you, or do you feel like it's something that was like modeled to you? Do you feel like it's something that's in every man, they just like haven't tapped into it? Because I know I've experienced this in my past, and then like I've heard so many other women talk about how like they wish their husbands would like play with their kids and like, you know, do all those things. Like, I've never had to ask you to like play with the kids or take the kids, like literally, or like coach one of their sports teams or something like that. So like, what do you think is the difference of like why that's such a like a natural thing for you?
Probably a little bit of everything you said. I think it is a gift that God can give us. As, you know, fathers, we can ask God for gifts, and like a good father, he'll give us what we're asking for if it's to be a good parent.
Yeah.
So I definitely do ask God to help me. But I do think a lot of it was how my father modeled to me, spending time with me, playing sports with me, working hard, and the balance. But also the men in my family, my older brothers, my older brother Sean and my younger brother Robbie, they both are great at spending time with people too. So I was always surrounded with that kind of culture and attitude of, you know, not ignoring people or going off by yourself a lot, but including people. We always did things together. So I genuinely just enjoy that. That was the way I was brought up. If I want to go do something, I usually want to do it with people.
Yeah.
And I think of like that with my family. The other thing you were saying was, does someone maybe have that inside of them and just needs to awaken it?
Right. Do you think like every man has it inside of them to be a hands-on dad, to play with their kids?
I do. I don't think it's really, you know, it might be hard for someone. Everybody has different strengths, so that might be something that's challenging for someone. Maybe they're a real introvert, where they feel insecure about how to do that, or they've never been around
It wasn't
a man at all who, you know, some men think it's, I don't know, like it's stoic to ignore people or to be dominant and rude towards them. So I mean, I never want to judge what someone's been through.
Yeah.
But I think if you ask God to show you, if your heart's sincere and you want to be a better parent, you ask God to show you, he'll show you things you can do. And just start small. Don't try to, like, I don't try to do a lot. I just do little things, a lot of little things. I know one of my favorite quotes is Mother Teresa said, we could do no great things, only small things with great love. And that's how you change the world, is by doing the small little things. So I notice I've been trying to do a little more lately, where when one of our kids is frustrated, instead of trying to figure out why they're frustrated, see if I can actually get them to do something with me to help them relax. And then when they relax, we talk about why they're frustrated while we're playing cards, or playing with cars with Sethy, or with Gia if we're working on her gymnastics or something she's interested in.
Yeah.
But it takes a lot of patience, right? It's easy to get frustrated.
Yeah.
And that's where I think a lot of fathers struggle, is you're just so hard on yourself. You feel like, oh, I blew it, I messed up, I had such a bad attitude. You just got to kind of wipe the dust off and just say, all right, let's just try again.
And I'm sorry shirt.
Yeah. And you got to apologize a lot.
He joked a couple of years ago that he should just get a shirt that says I'm sorry, and was joking around and saying like, yeah, he's just like, I'm sorry guy. Like that's his character, is I'm sorry guy, because he just has to say I'm sorry so much.
Yeah.
And I actually was talking to him about how that would be something really like important. Like it's funny, but like it's a joke between us, but I feel like it is something really helpful to share, like that. Same thing for moms though, like, and same things for husbands, wives, like moms, dads, like all relationships, right? It's like you're gonna mess up, but it's really how you handle that, like taking responsibility, apologizing. I feel like it's so powerful for our kids to see us apologize to each other, like, and to them. Like instead of acting like we can do no wrong, like they get to a certain age where there's a certain amount of cognitive dissonance where they're like, something's not lining up, because like you're telling me not to have a bad attitude, you're telling me not to be rude, or you know, whatever it may be, but then like you're doing it and you're justifying it and acting like it's okay, or it's because of me, and you're not saying you're sorry, but like you want me to not treat you like that. So I feel like our children can like learn to respect that. While we may not always practice what we preach, like we acknowledge when we don't, and then it's an opportunity, like it's really a gospel opportunity, right, to share like, yeah, like we'll all sin, we'll all fall short of the glory of God, and like this is how you repair relationship, like this is how you repent before God. And you know, modeling forgiveness to them, I feel like can be really powerful.
Yeah, because you're an example. Even when you make a mistake, you're an example on how to handle a mistake.
Yeah.
So like, for instance, a lot of times when I was apologizing all the time, you know, it was because I was getting frustrated. Instead of helping people stay calm, I was getting worked up because I didn't know what to do.
Yeah. So like I feel like this happens so much with parents.
Just get annoyed instead of make a difference.
Yeah. I feel like this is one of the most common parenting traps. We could probably do a whole video on that. Is letting their dysregulation dysregulate you, because it's like kind of, I don't know, I feel like it's natural in a sense, right? Like somebody else gets dysregulated, our cortisol spikes, our adrenaline spikes, and then instead of being like self-regulated enough to know how to like work through that and bring ourselves down from that place so that we can model frustration tolerance and model what self-regulation looks like, and even co-regulation. Like, we can be honest with our kids. Like, there are times I'm honest with our kids and I just say, like, I'm feeling really frustrated with you right now. Like, I need to go in the other room for a minute and I'll be back. And like, you know, whatever it takes to make the situation healthy and to model like how to handle those big emotions. Because if they see us handle big emotions in an out of control way, like, we can't expect them to do better than us. Like, it's silly. I feel like sometimes as parents, like, we expect our kids to do something like we're not even fully capable of doing. So along the same lines of like your one thing you would tell fathers, like if you had one thing to tell husbands,
okay,
what would that be? Like your number one piece of advice for husbands and their marriage.
It's okay to have ups and downs. You know, you don't. I think a lot of times, I know for me, and I would imagine for a lot of guys, you know, our pride gets in the way, and pride's not always arrogance. You know, sometimes pride could even be the desire to want to be what society says a great man is, and you want to feel prideful about yourself. You want to feel like you're good. You want to feel like you're a good man. So I think sometimes just realizing it's okay to have ups and downs. Like, you don't have to, you know, be the perfect person in the relationship. Like, and you know, you go through a hard time or something with your wife or your family, and it's okay for it to be a hard time. And you just got to see what it is and push through. Like, I tell you that all the time. When we go through something, it's like, it's okay for this to be hard and a struggle. You know, we'll get through it.
It's funny. I just pulled back out the book, Hard is Not the Same Thing as Bad. And I was thinking about how, like, why have I still not finished this book? Because I really like it. I feel like when seasons mellow out, I, like, stop reading it. Yeah. And then as soon as things start to get hard in our life, I, like, pull it back out. But,
Does that make sense, what I was saying, though?
Yeah.
Like, that it's like, you know.
But also, I think maybe clarify, because I know the part of you that's like, yeah, it's okay for it to be hard, but then, like, what do you do, though? So it's not like, oh, well, it's just a hard season, like, get over it. Like, that's not really, like, how you... So I just want to make sure that's clarified. Like, what do you do then? Like, what active things?
I think the most important thing is to look at yourself. Like, not look at the other person as, like, they need to... We're going through a hard time. What are they going to do to change this? Is look at what can I do to, you know, to make sure I'm doing the best I can. You know, and then have grace, like, or be patient and understanding with the other person, because that's like when the test of who you really are comes out, not when everything's going easy and smooth. Like, the people you care about, and I've always felt like, even like before we talk about apologizing, I think it's the same for like our relationship as well as my relationship with the kids. Whenever I've gone through times where I've kind of faced what I need to work on, and I say I'm sorry about the things I've gotten wrong, I feel like a lot of trust grows and a lot of confidence in each other, because you can trust that that person like sees things in a realistic way, where they're not just kind of pushing everything on someone else or acting like it's someone else's fault that you got upset, like, or that I got upset, but just being like, I'm sorry I got upset. I shouldn't have got upset. Like, we might be able to like figure out why I got upset, and that's a good reason. Sometimes I was getting upset about good things. Like, I cared about the kids, or I wanted to see us get along and agree on things maybe we didn't agree on. And then I get frustrated. But either way, to just own up. Like, just own up and say you're sorry when you're wrong. Doesn't matter if the other person is right or wrong, if it's about working on yourself.
And the marriage and keeping it intact.
Yeah.
So what advice would you give for wives from the husband's perspective? What's the number one thing that you would recommend for wives to, I guess, like, bridge the gap? Like, maybe you are going through a hard time and, you know, it creates like a distance because both people are stressed, or, maybe the family's just really busy and they're not having time to connect, or maybe there isn't really anything wrong, but a wife's like, yeah, give me a nugget of wisdom, like give me a way I could bless my husband, support my husband, like strengthen my marriage. Is there something that stands out that you could think of? Like, is there something that I do, or is there something that like you wish that I did that you feel like would be a helpful thing for wives to know from a man's perspective?
Well, first of all, I don't feel like I should be giving anybody advice on anything, but I do think this is a cool thing for us to do. So just so everybody knows, that's kind of where I'm coming from.
You're like, I'm not an expert. Disclaimer, disclaimer.
But I can answer the questions the best I can.
Yeah.
If it helps someone else or somebody who's struggling, then it's worth it. Or someone who's trying to figure things out, maybe it helps point them in a good direction.
Yeah.
I mean, I've really liked how you've prayed a lot and been patient for years sometimes about things you knew that I needed to improve on, and you didn't give up on me.
Mm-hmm.
And then when God spoke to me, it matched what you had been saying, and when the timing was right, I wanted to tell you what was going on, because you kind of never gave up on, what I needed to work on, instead of, getting frustrated and be like, he's never going to change, or he can't hear what I have to say. The reality is there were times where I couldn't hear what you had to say, and I wasn't in the place to change, but you didn't believe a lie that I could never change.
Mm-hmm.
And you prayed about it, and then when God did speak to me, those were all things I already knew, but I needed the God to really speak to me on them and make it like real to me.
Mm-hmm.
Those are probably the biggest things in my life. The turning points I've had is when you've been patient and not given up on praying for me and not judging me. So I would definitely encourage wives not to take it too personal.
Mm-hmm.
If you can see what someone needs to change, but they can't quite fully see it themselves yet, because it's easier to see what someone else needs sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
And so you were a part of helping me get to the place where I needed to be. So you started speaking it. We started talking about it as much as I could handle it.
Mm-hmm.
And then eventually I got to a point where I was ready to talk about things and deal with the things that maybe were a little harder or more prideful.
Yeah.
Does that sound about right?
Yeah, I agree with all of that. I think I feel obligated to share like the disclaimer that we're talking about things that are like normal flaws, or acknowledging that like we're both sinners, we're both imperfect, we're both gonna make mistakes, we both have blind spots, we both have like hurts and whatever else that needs to be like healed, that we need to submit to the Lord. But I do feel the need to give the disclaimer of like this same advice does not apply in an abusive situation. So sometimes, as much as I don't like to have to bring up the topic of abuse, I think it's really important for any women who might be listening that you're hearing that like you need to pray, you need to wait, you need to be patient. And it's like, yeah, if you're safe and if you're not being abused, I feel like from the wife's perspective, it's important to talk about that. Like, sure, Seth isn't perfect, but he is a good man, and he seeks the Lord, and he has a desire to like love and serve his family. And it's not just like a spoken desire, it's one that he walks out. But like, he is imperfect and he is a sinner just like me. And so there were things that like he was going through that, like the Lord had to heal, just like the Lord has to heal things in me, or had to heal things in me. So I just feel like it's important. Like, I feel like that piece of advice is powerful, but I just want to make sure that like it's not like misunderstood by women who, are in situations where like, yeah, you can pray once you're in a safe situation, or like you can pray, sure, like once you've put up a safe boundary for yourself and or your children. So I just wanted to add that in.
I definitely don't want to be giving people any kind of advice as far as choices they should be making in their personal life, because I don't know their circumstances, right, but hopefully they could take something from the heart of what I'm trying to say, that when you trust God and you look to him for how you handle things, that was the biggest thing you were doing, and God was giving you a peace that one day I would see all those things, and you were a part of helping me see it. But there is a time to just guard your heart and be careful. So I hope if anyone is in that situation that they, above everybody, look to God first for protection and do what they feel God leading them to do to be safe.
Mm-hmm. So I think one more question. I have so many I could ask you, but I feel like we need to make this a series.
Okay.
So my last question is, can you describe like what even is a godly legacy? Like, what does it look like? Like when you say that you want to encourage men to build a godly legacy, like if someone was like, I don't even know what that looks like.
What are you talking about?
Yeah. Could you describe that a little bit?
Yeah, it has to do with the character of your children. Like, what do you want your son or your daughter to think, and how they treat people, how they live in the world, how they trust God, if they even believe in God, if they have faith. Those are the things that all matter. So I know it's easy to talk about, and it's harder to actually, like, I feel like we do a pretty good job, but it wasn't always easy, that we make decisions based on those things. So we're not, looking to impress people with how fancy our house is, or how big our property is, or how big our bank account is, or how fancy our cars are. But we're trying to focus on pouring our energies and our goals into the kids, like who they're becoming. So it's easy to say those things, but it's another thing to really decide not to spend money in this direction, but in another direction that maybe other people don't understand why we're doing it. But when we pray, we feel it's a good thing, and it's a better investment into the things that really matter in our child's future than material things. So, I don't know, I think that's, I think for us, that's a really big focus every day. Like, how are we going to use our energy? What are our real goals?
Yeah.
So we take time every day to do family time every night. We wrestle for that every night because that's more important than sports to us. So the kids still have opportunities to play sports, but we're not running around nonstop and spending hundreds of thousands of dollars on sports,
Yeah.
At the same time, we do invest in some sports for some of the kids, and we feel it's right for them. So
yeah,
I think it's a balance,
I feel like it'd be really cool for us in a future chat to share more about what family time looks like.
Yep.
And maybe some more specifics surrounding like how do we actually do this. So I feel like this was really good for setting a foundation for building a godly legacy. Thinking about like how to father, how to keep a strong marriage, how to be a good husband, how to kind of like have a vision for what legacy is, but then maybe we can follow up with like some practical things that we do to actually build that. Like, okay, so what are the blocks to building legacy? So do you have any final thoughts you want to add?
I just think it's okay not to get it all right, and we have our own struggles, and we've made our mistakes, and that's kind of the beauty of having a relationship with God, where He gives you that strength to, focus on moving forward, and you ask God to just give you direction. One of my favorite verses is Proverbs chapter 3, 5 and 6 says, "Trust in the Lord with all your heart, and lean not on your own understanding, but in all your ways acknowledge God, and He'll make your path straight." And so I think, for us, that's kind of why we're doing this, is to maybe encourage someone else to trust in God, and then also play your part the best you can, and work on things that, when that verse says trust in the Lord with all your heart, doesn't mean you don't have a heart, that you don't care about things. It just means to trust God with those things. But it says to lean on your own, do not lean on your own understanding. It doesn't mean that you don't have any understanding or knowledge or intelligence. It just means at the end of the day, when you get confused, or if there's a situation that's tough, it's not all on you. You don't have to just lean on everything you know. You can have faith.
Yeah.
And then the last part of it is great, because it's a promise.
Yeah.
That He'll direct your path. And I think that's one of the biggest challenges for us, is no matter how many times you trust God with something, especially with your children or your family, your finances or your career, it's still an act of faith. Like, you don't just start walking by faith, you gotta continue to take steps.
Mm-hmm.
And that faith, like, you begin to trust God more and more, but it's still always a challenge.
Yeah.
You know, but God's promises that He'll direct our path if we let Him. And that's what I think it's all about, is giving Him the chance to show us His direction. You know?
Amen.
Amen.
All right, you guys. Well, thank you for joining us for our first chat about building a godly legacy.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely leave us any like follow-up questions to anything that we talked about today, or any just questions that you'd love to see us answer, any topics you'd like to see us tackle. And
That'd be interesting.
yes,
I'd be interested to see what people
want to
want to talk about.
Yeah. Any advice that you have that you feel like could add to the conversation for us, or for anybody, any other parents that are watching, that can go to the comments. And
Yeah, or if there was something that you felt stood out to you that was helpful,
yeah,
like, I'd be interested to know that.
yeah,
Like,
for sure.
especially if there's some guys out there who found something that was said that was helpful.
Yeah. All right. Well, if you're not already following me over on Instagram, you can follow me there at rooted_homelife, and you can follow Seth at rooted_legacy_. And I hope to see you guys. Wait, no. Until next time, stay.
Is that a rewind?
Yes, it
Take
is.
that back.
It is. I hope to see you guys soon in one of my next videos. And until next time, stay rooted. You gotta say stay rooted.
Stay rooted.
Yes. Oh, we did it, honey.
Good job, babe.
What did you think?
That was good. You did great.
Were you nervous?
No?
Good. What now?
I'm gonna clean the basement and then get the kiddos from Nan's,
Mm-hmm.
and then we're gonna come back home and play Nerf War.
Sounds good.